Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and people and everyone. Hello and welcome to Freshly Grounded, episode 64. I am so excited for this episode. This episode is with Jibril Hanzo. Wow, where do I start? I say at the end of this episode that it's one of those quality episodes where you just think at the end of it, like, I really enjoyed this episode. I loved making this episode. I really enjoyed it from the bottom of my heart, and I know you guys are gonna love listening to it. So give it a listen. For those of you who don't know Jibril, I suppose his social media clout rose enough for many people who saw him would have been from his video that he did for Roadside to Islam with his twin brother. So Jibril has an identical twin brother. They both took their shahada. They became Muslim about 8 years ago. And we didn't talk about that story here, and we didn't talk much about Jibril's twin here, because it seems like every time Jibril does something or interview, it's always about his story and about them as twins. And I wanted to kind of take a deeper look into the life of Jibril himself. And his story is everywhere, so I do recommend that you guys go check it out after you've listened to this episode. Go to Roadside to Islam. You'll definitely see him in the thumbnail. But very inspiring person. In this episode, we spoke a lot about trials. We spoke about Jannah. We had beautiful discussion about Jannah, the description of Jannah. Jibril was testing me on my knowledge of Jannah. We spoke about divorce. We spoke about Jibril's trials with divorce, about children. Being kind of a single dad to his two lovely daughters. Very interesting episode. We spoke a lot about Iman, about trusting Allah, reading the Qur'an, understanding Qur'an and the benefits that it has on us. So honestly, guys, a lovely episode. I very much so recommend you listen to this. And I said on the Tim Humble episode, I said, not often do I say to people, I don't promote privately Freshly Grounded and say to people, oh guys, listen to this episode. But I do that with some episodes, and I've done that a lot with the Tim Humble episode. I've done that a lot with the Yusha Evans episode, and I'm saying here now, I'll probably do it a lot with this episode because I think that is very beneficial. This episode, as always, is brought to you by 59. That's 50_NINE on Instagram. That's 59 Stanhope Road, St Albans, Hertfordshire. It's a wellness cafe that sells freshly ground coffee, fresh snacks, fresh juices, nice desserts. Everything's fresh. Almost everything is vegetarian. They got vegan friendly stuff, vegetarian friendly stuff, and it's amazing. Go check out 59 at 59 Stanhope Road, St Albans, Hertfordshire, and use the code word Freshly Grounded to get £1 off. Also brought to you by Izaha. That's IZAHA.com. The best Arabic caps you're probably gonna get. Arabic style caps, hats, t-shirts. Go to izaha.com, IZAHA.com. Type in the code word Freshly Grounded to get 20% off any and everything at the store. And lastly but not least, this podcast is brought to you by FeedSource. FeedSource is the company whose studio, it's my brother's company, the studio that we shoot Freshly Grounded at. FeedSource provides custom Instagram photos for your product on demand. This company that my brother owns and runs from these very offices has made life much easier, cheaper and much more efficient for hundreds of brands. Our team have created content for the likes of Hilton, Dell and Deliveroo, as well as many startups and small businesses who are just looking to get high quality images of their products. FeedSource is designed to be super simple to use. All you do is visit feedsource.com and explore our different styles of images to find one that matches your brand. You then choose how many images you'd like created, and if you're in the UK, you can have your products collected the next working day, completely free. Your images are then created and delivered to you through your online brand panel within 7 days. Prices start as low as £129 for 9 custom images. We don't use stock imagery, any kind of template. It really is 100% bespoke images created for your product. You can get 25% off your first order by using the code FG25. Just go to feedsource.com and place your order. That's FEEDSAUCE.com. FeedSource, high quality custom Instagram photos of your product on demand. Remember, use the code word FG25 at checkout to get 25% off your first order. It's so much easier to do these things with the script. Guys, this is Freshly Grounded, episode 64 with Jibril Hanzo. Let's get into it.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded,
No, after that bit.
the brand new podcast
And after that bit?
by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Really?
And we're live. Assalamu alaikum, Jibril.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, man?
Alhamdulillah, bro, I'm good.
We've been trying to get this podcast episode for a long time.
I know, subhanallah.
Maybe even years. Like as
It
in
could
1
actually-
year,
it could
maybe.
actually quite literally be years, bro.
Yeah.
It actually could be. I don't know why Qadar Allah he's delayed it.
Alhamdulillah.
But yeah, today alhamdulillah is my first day free, so I thought I'd let you know in
Yeah.
advance, and it's nice to be on the show, man.
Yeah, you did let me know in well advance, didn't you? Let me know last week.
I think it was longer than that, bro. As soon as I got the date for something that I've got to do later on this afternoon, I was like, bro, alhamdulillah, I'm going to be free to do
Fit and
it.
freshly grounded.
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
yeah.
It's a shame Sam's not here, but as I was telling you yesterday, it's just like, obviously, because he's literally just had his newborn now, like a few weeks ago. It was at, towards the end of Ramadan, I think, that he had his new baby boy. And yeah, as you can probably imagine, having, how many do you have in total?
Two daughters.
Two daughters. So
yeah.
as you can probably imagine, having two children yourself, he basically said that having one child is like you feel like a dad.
Yeah.
And he said having two children, you feel like a family man. And he said he didn't expect that. He didn't expect, because he's already had one child. He didn't expect the difference in, like, the difference he would make just to have another one.
Yeah.
And so he said that his whole like routine and everything has just changed, and it's become like, not that his family wasn't a priority before, but anytime he has no time to kind of maneuver about. If he has time, it's for family or work and stuff. And so yeah, today and for the past few weeks he's been like struggling to get down, because obviously the other thing is he doesn't live in London, so he every week for the past, bro, this is our 64th episode, so imagine we've been running for over a year and a half, and alhamdulillah, almost every week, you know, he's been coming down from outside of London, travelling in, doing an episode.
It gets rough, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
like having one child, as you said, is a lot. But then having a newborn, another child as well. Obviously, you need to be there to support your missus as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Help her out, and it's a lot of work, man. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful work.
How
It's
is
beautiful work,
fatherhood, bro? Like,
alhamdulillah.
what's for you, you know, as a young man, how you're
Bro, I always wanted to be that fly young dad, bro.
yeah,
You know,
I think you got that. You got that on lock.
You know them ones where like the mums at the school, they're like, ooh, like that's Amaya's dad. Yeah, I wanted to be that guy, bro. Like that young,
I think you got that on lock.
cool
I think
dad.
you got that on lock. How old are you now?
bro.
do
I
you
turned
want to not mention it?
Nah, bro, no, you can mention it. Aki, guess how old I am.
Bro, if I had to guess, I'd say 25. But I know because I've spoken to you before that you're older than that.
Aki, I turned 29 yesterday, bro.
Allahumma barik.
29,
bless
Aki.
you.
My last year of my 20s, bro. And then I'm in the 30 zone, bro.
Bless you, man.
It's wild, bro.
29, you know.
Yeah, man. 29.
Have you always
subhanallah.
been like around people your age or younger or older? What's
That
it been
jumper
like?
looks good on you, bro.
Jazakallahu khair.
You're gonna sweat a bit, but it looks good still.
I'm gonna give you one before you leave.
Barakallahu feek. Go on, what you gonna say?
Okay, have you always been? Because you're saying you're 29 now, alhamdulillah. Have you always been around people younger than you or older than you or like the same age? Generally, like the people around you.
Most of the people that I've been around have been my age or a bit older.
Okay.
Like all my companions.
I love how you say that. You always say companions.
Yeah, no, I never say friends, bro.
You always
I
say
never
companions.
Say friends, bro. Companions. Always.
What's the
companions.
difference? What's the difference between friends and companions?
Like, all right, cool. So, I got two non-Muslim friends. Yeah, I'll call them friends.
Okay.
But if you're a Muslim, and we roll together and we speak, and like you're a proper part of, I guess you could say, my jama'ah, then you're my companion. It's friends. Friends doesn't cut it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it doesn't cut it for me. Like you have a brother, a companion, because I liken it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people around him, he called them his companions, innit?
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe the Arabic term that he would have used may be equivalent to friends, but I don't know.
Companion does
feels
seem a
right.
bit more like. It seems like more
tighter, don't
tight,
you?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It feels tighter,
like indented,
firmer.
innit?
Yeah, bro, that's what it is. It's
my companion.
Bro, I'm telling you, yeah, my group of companions, shout out the One Truth group, yeah. My companions are a different level, bro. Like we was literally talking about it yesterday on the group. Like it's a really, really special group of brothers. all unique individuals, all have their own characteristics, skill set, strengths, weaknesses, and we all pull together to help each other, and it's amazing, man. It's a really, really, really special group of brothers, mashallah.
Well, I see some. By the way, that water's yours, so feel free. I know it's very hot in here. I do see that you sometimes post some chat conversations in your WhatsApp group from you and your brothers, and that group. And I love that, man, because I am so for young people and young Muslims, especially young brothers, trying to really push forward the idea of having a tight-knit group of brothers around you. And you know what's so beautiful is that Islam, the way brotherhood is in Islam, it's so perfect, bro, because you can never be insecure with it, because, for example, there's a fiqh even for your jokes. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're brothers in a WhatsApp group, bro, we can crack joke, have back. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had so much jokes with his companions. However, I know that in this WhatsApp group, you ain't never gonna make a joke at my expense. You ain't never gonna embarrass me. You're never gonna be like, yo Faisal, like something, you know, when you just mock someone, but it's a lot and everyone kind of roasts someone.
Bro, you know what's interesting about that, is you'll have a group of brothers, and then you'll add another brother into the group, for example, who's part of your jama'ah, but he's not there yet, but it's good for his iman and he wants to be involved. And even amongst brothers who are familiar with each other, every now and again, rarely, someone can overstep the mark with a joke. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as the emir of the group, which I am, you have to shut that down, and you have to not be afraid of the confrontation to say, listen, bro, you took it too far. And what happens is that when you do that, it brings the brothers closer together, because they're not arrogant. So they'll submit humbly, and then they'll lower themselves for the person that they kind of went a little bit too far with. So Allah really has blessed, I'd say, our group of companions, as I was literally saying to them all yesterday, because we never do haram together. We don't go shisha lounges, we don't go clubs, we don't go bars, but whatever we do, we always have a good time, regardless of where it is. The other day, we left the masjid and randomly started racing each other sprints like outside the masjid. But we was just cracking up, laughing. It's like, what adults think of something like that? But it's just, I don't know. It's just Allah inspires us to just do very simple things where we have so much fun and laugh and joke. We'll rent a hotel, play FIFA tournaments, go to one of the brothers' houses, go out to eat. Everything's always halal. We don't talk bad about each other. We never backbite. If there was even the sniff of a backbite, the one brother's going to get onto you and let you know about it. And it protects us all.
It's beautiful, man. And bro, you see the same thing with any WhatsApp group, bro. Even the group of the brothers that we have on WhatsApp, same thing, bro. Like, someone will post something. If someone posts something that, and naturally you do, bro, as boys, do you know what I mean? There's a level of competitiveness in any way and that kind of stuff. And quickly people will just, in the most beautiful way, brothers, that stay away from this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's never like, nah, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Why are you taking it out of context? Never.
Well, that's the difference between brothers and sisters.
Maybe.
This is the reason. This one of the reasons why sisters rarely stay together and always end up falling into arguments and falling out with each other, because they don't know how to take criticism. Whereas with brothers, they can just keep it real with each other, and they can advise one another, and they'll humbly submit to it. When sometimes, when I was married before, whatever, and I speak to my ex-wife or whatever the case may be, and I'd find out, you learn about how women move through your spouses. You understand what I'm saying? You clock what goes on, and you can't tell them nothing. You know what I mean? Like sisters, they find it hard to advise each other, because if you tell them, they just get defensive straight away, and then it creates a culture of, I can't even advise you. And then when you can't advise your own friend when they're going wrong, then you're gonna have issues, man. You're gonna have real issues.
I hear that, man.
You have to be able to take advice,
bro. This caveats perfectly into something that I wanted to talk about. I was so desperate to talk about it earlier in the week, and I saved it for this episode, and I thought Jibril would be the perfect person to talk to about this with. And it's so the thing that kills me the most, bro, on social media more than anything, and there was a lot of bad going on, on social media, and you'll probably say, why is this the thing that kills you the most? But it's honestly the thing that kills me the most on social media is, when you see Muslims posting like memes, and you discussed this before. This is what we got this week, but it kills me when even before when the Muslims post memes and they post jokes, and especially like Muslim comedians, they post like jokes and it's to do with the religion, bro. It hurts me so much, like it makes me so upset. And the reason being, bro, is there's so many reasons, right? Because so the reason it hit me harder this week and why I wanted to talk about it is because I came across another video where people are making, and these are Muslims and Muslims who young Muslims are looking up to, and they don't see anything wrong with making jokes about the religion because it's like, oh, these guys are just being too strict, or these guys are just like, it's not that deep. But bro, they're making jokes that are to do with religion. And the thing that kills me about it is, I think ever since me and Onali, I mentioned this so many times, me and Onali were once in a class and it was about joking in religion. And bro, the Ustad was saying that it's so serious that it will take you out of the religion of Islam.
It can take you
out
out
of
of
the religion of Islam.
it
That's what I'm saying. And obviously, there's different. It's not like
Black and white.
It's not black and white like that. But there's certain things like if you know that is the thing from the religion, etc. But a lot of the time, that's taking you out of the religion, bro. And the thing that, like I said, hurts me so much is that it's not something where it's like, oh, there was a hadith here and this, that, the other, which, by the way, even if it was from a hadith, we take it if it's from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But bro, this is from the Qur'an, from the word, from Allah's words.
Is there anyone that comes to mind? Is there anything that you've seen that comes up stuck out?
Let me just finish off this point. The fact that, bro, in the Qur'an, there's an ayah in the Qur'an, and I don't know the ayah off by heart, but it essentially it says in a if I'm what's the word for like not direct translation?
Paraphrasing.
If I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of they will say to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we were just joking. Say to them, was it Allah, His religion, and His messenger? Something I'll find the ayah that you were joking about. Verily, you have disbelieved after you have believed. Allah. And like I said, that was a paraphrasing. I'll try and find the ayah because I don't want to.
It's pretty spot on.
It's pretty much that.
It's
right?
pretty much that.
And bro, Allah is saying you have disbelieved after you have believed. Like, this is serious, bro. And we need to. So even if you think, what I'm doing though isn't mocking the religion, it's just like making jokes about the culture, etc. in the religion, bro. If it's anything to just as like as a line, we should just have it that if it could be something that might be about the religion, stay away from it. That should be our, in my opinion, because it's too dangerous. And bro, there was something that the thing that hit me, bro, is that I must have seen something where it was like a video where people was doing like confessionals.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like kind of like Alcoholic Anonymous kind of thing, and they were standing and saying, I got confession, I did Juma and I didn't have wudu, and everyone's like, oh man, and then another one's like, oh, I looked at a girl but she was so pretty that even though my first look was halal, I looked for the second time, that kind of stuff. And
but was it a joke or was it like serious?
It was a joke.
It was a joke.
Yeah, it was proper. It was a sketch. It was a sketch.
Right. So just mocking transgressions, basically.
Right, but and obviously, bro, I have nothing. Look, them brothers and sisters. I'm not saying anything against them because but it's a dangerous territory. And what I'm saying is not we should ridicule these people and all this kind of stuff. What I'm saying is that we need to educate ourselves about the seriousness of the matter. That's all I'm saying.
It should be just a simple principle or mindset, that certain things are not befitting for jokes.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. There's certain things you just don't do them things. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't do them things. Like, you don't joke about Islam. But the only reason you would joke about Islam and transgressing against the law is because you don't know Allah. So you don't know what time it is. And when you especially when you joke about transgressions, sins, what it does is it creates this like really watered down effect. It creates like this idea that the sin is nothing and it's just calm, it's just cash, like, and that's dangerous to the mindset and the psychology of the Muslims if they see people joking about transgressions more than anything. And I feel exactly the same way. I remember I haven't seen it in a long time. I think because I've really made, you're searching on Instagram, like it's so sort of narrow now. Like all I get is sports, fashion, and that's about it. Sometimes I'm tempted to see something else because all I see is the same stuff. So I don't really see those kind of jokes anymore. But I remember during Ramadan once I saw a sketch where someone was posing as sort of like they was dancing in the car, and then their dad's come in, and then he puts the Qur'an on, and then the dad's like, oh yeah, you're a very good boy, and says he forgot something in his car, and when he left the car, he put the music back on and started dancing, sort of thing. And like that kind of stuff like affected. That was during Ramadan, I think, when I saw that. And it wasn't this Ramadan, I think it was the Ramadan before, and I was like, rah, man, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really felt quite evil, to be honest with you. But the reality of the matter is that, yeah, there's a lot of ignorance out there. There's a lot of people that don't know the limits. There's a lot of people that want to be known, and their only claim to fame or a target target audience they can reach are Muslims. So naturally, their avenue for jokes will be regarding Islam.
And I don't think that these people, genuinely, I don't think that these people think that what they're doing is bad, and I don't think that. Do you know what I mean, bro? I don't think they're evil people, but I think that's why I said I think that what we need is actually an education, in a sense that we need to learn. We need to not be ignorant, and we need to learn like why. So because in the eyes of a lot of these people, their intentions are very good. Like their intentions are, instead of the young people, you know, looking at madness, they follow me, and yeah, like, you know, I also promote praying, and I also promote, like, you know, going to Jummah, celebrating Eid, but at the same time, just trying to be a relatable Muslim. You know what I mean? So I understand that, but
do you know why? Bro, do you know why? I do stuff sometimes like. I don't post a lot anymore. I don't know if you've noticed. Like, I don't really post a whole lot, and I rarely ever put my friends on camera. I don't think anyone's really ever seen any of my companions. But you know why I'll post stuff like the jokes that we bust in our WhatsApp group? Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody knows that I'm practicing. Everybody knows that my companions are probably practicing. So I want them to see that these lot have jokes. Do you understand what I'm saying? These lot don't sit in a group and just exchange hadith or a Quranic ayat 24/7. Our group is mad. And we got the maddest jokes. We got to talk about all different sorts of things. And I just feel like there's this mindset amongst the non-practicing that these Muslims who are practicing are very shadeed and very serious and very cold, and it's so far away from the reality. It's beyond belief, man. It's so far away from the reality. And it's just another attempt from Shaitan, really, just to try and kill the image of what it is to be a practicing Muslim. Everyone's image conscious as well anyway. So if it doesn't seem appealing or seem cool to be a Muslim, no one's going to do it. And what's funny is that there was actually a time, this was before I was Muslim, but I was told, and there was a time when it was really the in thing to be Muslim. Like, it was actually cool to be Muslim. And everyone was jumping on it, and obviously those who were sincere and real stayed on it, and those who were in it
Bilal
just for the
speaks
image.
about that quite a bit.
Yeah, like there was actually a time where it was cool to be Muslim, and people would actually implement and practice Islam just because it was the in thing.
When did you? How many years has it been now since you've been Muslim?
Coming up to 8 years.
Okay, so you reverted at 21.
21.
Alhamdulillah.
So yeah, like when I first accepted Islam, everyone was on a high. It was probably at a time when it was, I don't know if it was considered cool to be Muslim, but those who had accepted Islam, they was on it. They was on going to lectures. Everyone would get excited to go and listen to a Murtaza Khan talk, or this sheikh is coming, or that sheikh is coming. It was really powerful at the time. Like, everyone wanted to wear thobes, you know, everyone wanted to memorize Qur'an. And then obviously as the years go by, obviously I feel like a big part of what sparks the change is not just social media, but I kind of feel like, do you know what? It's deep, man. It's actually really deep. I feel like so many things come into it, even the economy, bro. Like, it's real talk, because people now have to be much more money orientated than they was before.
It's true.
Because it's harder to live in the city. So that, coupled with social media, trying to stunt on social media, and even the music industry and so many things, people who open their doors to music and social media and wanting to be seen, it really had an effect on the culture of practicing. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all about getting money, and I would say to an extent this has from what I observe amongst my companions, it's had a positive effect, because now you can't really get by just on doing a casual job anymore. I mean, it's so hard to live in this city that you have to be on your hustle, and I've actually seen that benefit a lot of my companions. I've seen them move, or not move away from the deen, but become more balanced. I did a video talking about the balance between fulfilling your potential in dunya related matters and spiritual. And some brothers, you know, before they were able to lean much more heavily towards fulfilling their potential within the deen, but relax in their kind of dunya affairs, which is not good for you psychologically, self-esteem wise, and etc. But now there's no room for that. So even brothers that used to be much more inclined towards studying, which is good, now they've kind of been forced almost to get their hustle on and make sure that their dunya affairs are on point as well. Otherwise, you literally just can't live. And it's had a positive and negative effect. But
would you ever consider leaving London just because of the fact that it's so difficult? Like
my
in
brother bought a house in Sittingbourne. Not Elias. So I got another brother, Jamie.
Okay.
And he bought a house in Sittingbourne.
Where's that?
It's outside of London, but not too far away. It's got good travel links, man.
The price, that's what I'm saying. With the price difference is shocking.
It's crazy.
And now they're building so many links from other cities into London,
Yeah.
where you can now live in Birmingham, Liverpool, etc., and get to London in an hour and a half.
That's
Same,
crazy.
bro. I live in West London. Imagine my office. This studio here is West London. It's basically central London, but it's like on the west side of it. So
Yeah.
I'm traveling from West London to West London, and when the kids are at school and there's proper traffic, like when normal rush hour traffic, it takes me over an hour to get to work anyway, and I'm going one road. One road takes me straight. So for me to think, wow, like considering, bro, even if you just step out to Birmingham, which is 2 hours up the road, yeah. And you're looking at the house prices there, or Leicester, and you're looking at the house prices there, and you're thinking, and the house prices in London. But how much of a impact does it have when you have children? Because obviously you got children here in London.
Yeah. That's something that you have to think about. Me, I got a really, really close like bond with my daughters, like very, very, very close.
Do you see them regularly?
Yeah, I see them regularly. Yeah, I used to see them once every week. I used to have them every weekend. Now it's once every one weekend every fortnight, which has been a test and a trial. Like I went through since I've been a Muslim, as you said, we're coming up to 8 years, right? I've never ever really and truly faced a test and a trial ever. And you know when you read like narrations about Allah tests those that He loves. You know, just the hadith about, you know, if Allah loves somebody, it afflicts him or her with trials until they walk along on the earth like sinless, and there are narrations about there's stations in Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for His slaves that they can't reach except by overcoming trials. You read that, yeah, and you're like, but really though, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you really test those that you love like that? Like, you don't understand it fully. It's not that you're questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you just don't understand when Allah says He tests those that He loves. And I am remembering your point. The question was simply, do you see your daughters? And alhamdulillah, I do. And I've got a beautiful bond with them.
No, but this is good. The nature of podcast is that we just kind of
go into different things, right? And yeah, but it's really, really, really an absolute reality, an absolute fact that Allah really, really does test those that He loves. Like, because what you get from tests, yeah, is just, it's incredible. Like, I've been waiting to do a video on this, but I haven't got round to it yet. But I'll talk to you about it. I would still do the video probably. I'll talk to you about it. The idea and the title behind the short reminder was going to be Hidden Treasures. And in tests and trials, in darkness, there are treasures that exist there and they don't exist anywhere else. Like, they don't exist in light. You just can't find them. They're just not created in that environment. They only exist in trials and in hardships. And if you adopt a mindset of strength and reliance on Allah, you will find things in that cave that when you come out of it, and eventually every person will come out of it. No trial lasts forever. but you will come out of that cave richer than when you came in, happier than when you came in. And you'll even look back in that cave from the light, looking back into it, being like, I miss some of my times in there. But if you were to explain to someone what you was going through, they would be like, what? How? Or you would even say to them, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the opportunity to not have been lost in that cave, in that darkness for as long as I was, I would rather stay in there. I'd rather have allowed that to take place. Because the personal development, the moments you have with Allah, the reality of the matter is that tests push you to a level that comfort doesn't. It's as simple as that. And that's what I went through when it came to, obviously my divorce after like a 6.5 year marriage, or 7 year marriage. I'm a very family orientated person. But I was saying to my companions the other day, and I have to keep it real, like, if Allah came to me and said, Jibril, like, this such and such affliction is going to take place. If you want, I'll prevent it from you. And you keep everything. I'd say no. Let the affliction take place and let everything go as it's supposed to have gone. Because the personal development that I got from it in terms of understanding, in terms of patience, in terms of character, I would hate to go back to who I was. And the thing is, I felt like I was fine as well. That's the thing about the heart, is that if you don't check your heart, you really can lose yourself. Like, you can become hard, like your heart becomes hard. You don't listen to reminders just because you know you're not going to cry it. And it actually disturbs you that you can't even cry to reminders. You can't read the Qur'an. You can't do this. You can't do that. You become a short-tempered individual. But because you're praying, you think, I'm all good. Sometimes I was speaking to my brother when I left basketball the other night, and he was saying, the prayer sometimes, because he was talking about himself, he said that the prayer sometimes is like a dangerous disguise. It's like you think because you're praying 5 times a day, even at their fixed prescribed times, that I'm good. But in reality, you're not good at all. And you're not getting anything from your salah. You're literally not getting anything from it. The sweetness of the salah is at the end of it. Maybe when you're doing your final tashahhud or something. Do you know what I mean? So it's like Sheikh Abu Ubaid says, is that, do you know who Sheikh Abu Ubaid is? You need to get to know, bro. I'm telling you now, special individual, very special individual. You know the counselling projects that I set up? Yeah. We'll talk about that, I guess,
we'll
at a point.
Yeah.
I think he very much inspired me to do that.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah. And that's been going really well, by the way.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I want to get into that.
Yeah, it's been going really well.
We'll get into that, inshallah.
Special individual. And anyway, he said that Iman is futile, because no doubt you pray from Iman. You pray at its fixed times because of Iman. But Iman is futile, pointless, non-beneficial if you don't have a bond with Allah.
It's true.
So there's a difference between praying, fasting and covering and having a bond with Allah. Some people cover with no bond with Allah. Some people fast with no bond with Allah. Some people pray and do all 3 without any real bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you don't benefit from any of the things that you're doing, really, in terms of as an individual developing.
You're right. I think even one of the pillars of prayer is khushu. Is khushu. So for your prayer to be accepted, is that you have this stillness in prayer. Bro. And so to think that we're just doing, when we're doing actions, that we're content that our prayer is accepted, it's like, well, you're not fulfilling the basic. You're not checking the basic boxes that need to be checked for your prayer, which. Of one of them is the stillness, the khushu, that you need, etc. Because we think, all right, what are the basics that I need for my prayer? All right, cool. I have to do my, sujood. I have to recite the Fatiha in the first in when I'm in qiyam, when I'm standing. But you don't think what are the internal the pillars of my prayer. You know what I mean? The internal fara'id, which exist, bro. Stuff like, for example, the khushu.
Khushu is a flipping hell, man. That is something.
It's a battle, man.
That is a real battle. But
That's
when you have it, yeah, and you have a good prayer,
there's nothing like it.
Yeah, there aren't many things that can compare to that, to be honest with you, really.
Well, I don't know if it was Umar ibn Khattab Radiallahu anhu, which it might which I am almost certain it is, but I don't want to say for sure, who said, if I knew that just one of my prayers had been accepted, I will be asked to be taken to Allah now.
No.
So and this is a companion, someone who is promised Jannah, and it's like, and then it's us. That's one salah. Like, do you know what I mean? And then it's us like who are nowhere near them levels. So you're right, man. And that's not to demotivate us to say, oh, what's the point in praying? But that's to say, like, we can never gas ourselves and say, oh yeah, like, I'm alright. And this is even something that Abu Bakr Islam was saying to me in the Gambia podcast. He said, if I do because I said to him, like, what you like when you see him out there, bro, and he's working hard, and you see that sincerity, may Allah keep him sincere.
I mean, that's a king right there, by the way. Shout out Abu Bakr, yeah, Roadside to Islam. He's a king. You know, especially in the black community, yeah, they like to talk about black excellence, this and black excellence. They talk about black excellence for anything. Like Abu Bakr, yeah, is black excellence, bro. Like he really, really is a king. Like in terms of what he does and how he moves, that's the realest real. Like you can never bring any rapper, any grime artist, any US artist, any actor, any this and that, and compare it to the realness of coming from the streets, coming from the road, accepting Islam, implementing Islam, actually living it, being that real thing, and then going back to your home country and building orphanages and masajid and schools. Are you mad? Are you mad,
you know what,
bro? He's a king, bro. That's real. That's Muslim excellence. That's black excellence. That's human excellence. Like when I see that project and I see those kids' faces, yeah, I told him, like, this project is like a light in this dunya. It really is a light, because there's so much evil and fakeness and just like hollow, like, you know, just empty, just shells basically. That might even look good on the outside, but everything is just so hollow, lacks any substance. That's just a real light in this dunya, mashallah. So shout out that project, for real.
Yeah, man, for sure. And like you said, bro, the thing that sticks out about him, or anyone that will meet him, they will tell you, bro, he's real. And that's literally that's the best way of describing him, is real, because
100.
you know, sometimes what he will say will be hard to hear, and sometimes what he will say will be amazing to hear, but it will always be real. And he won't give it to you like he won't you know, add padding around it and you know, sugarcoat things. It's just straight up real. What was my point? What was I saying?
Basically, you're talking about khushu in the prayer, and you're talking about when you went to visit him in Gambia.
Okay, so he basically I asked him, I said what is the driving factor behind all of this project and all this kind of stuff? And he said, if I just do my salah 5 times a day, I pay my zakat, I fast in Ramadan, I tend to go to Hajj, etc. Yeah, la ilaha. If I just do all of those things, that just makes me a Muslim. And he said, if that's all I got, like, that just makes me a Muslim, like, I need to do something extra that gets me up there. Because when I stand in front of Allah and I've just done the basics, that makes me a Muslim. That makes me be able to say I am a Muslim. Then what about like my deeds, like my good deeds? What have I done to like get myself those extra points? And subhanallah, bro, it's true. It's so true, because that's why, like, we, you know, if we just praying our fard salah and we're giving sadaqah when we can, and we're just trying to be, but we need to figure out what can we do extra that when we stand in front of Allah, we feel like we got a chance, innit?
Yeah, no doubt.
That we feel like we got a chance.
We feel like sometimes when we do deeds, even the most simplest of deeds, like, we become very self-content, like very content in that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll get to Jannah. And I'm guilty of that, but I do it intentionally. I keep that mindset because I want to stay positive.
I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
So my question, I actually wanted to discuss this with you, so I'm glad you kind of went over to that topic. I was going to say that one thing that I love about your persona is how positive it is. Very, very positive. And it reminds me of when I first started practicing. I was speaking to this guy who's a Muslim. And he said to me that, you know what? I know Allah loves me. And I know Allah loves you. Because he loves us more than our mothers love us. So he said, you see when people like only preach with fear? And he said, like, obviously we do have to feel like it's a balance. It's like a bird with 2 wings, isn't it? One wing is hope, one wing is fear.
Mm-hmm.
However, we can't have this like idea of Allah as this angry like deity. And I see that in you. I see in you that you have positivity. You do speak about Jannah, and you speak about positivity, and you know, inshallah, this is gonna get me reward, and this and the other. And what I love about that, bro, is it reminds me also, I love that about you, but it also reminds me of, there's a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is discussing his different companions, yeah, and he discusses each of their characteristics. And bro, these are the people who are promised Jannah, yeah. And he's discussing their characteristics, and when he's explaining sallallahu alaihi wasallam their characteristics, yeah, their characteristics are so different from each other. But what it shows is that people with such different characteristics can all be people of Jannah. So we don't have to be the same person, innit? And so when you talk about someone like Abu Bakr Islam, who he constantly talks about death, and it's so good because when you're around him, you remember death, and it's powerful. It's Imam Busta. And then when you're around someone like Jibril, and he speaks about Jannah and positivity, it's beautiful. And it shows that you can have a person who's very positive, and then but as long as like you're all mixing with each other, and you remind each other, it's a great combination, because the companions all had different personalities. The companions were like, for example, if we look at, for example, you know, like Umar ibn Khattab and his character and his sternness, and then you look at someone like Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, and then you see his like softness, and you say, yeah, you can be like both of them. Obviously, you can't be so positive that you're just being delusional. But then likewise, you can't be so negative that you just think, oh, everything I do is gonna mean that I die. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I love that. I love seeing them different personality traits.
Allah is as you think of him, and the reason anyone who follows me on social media, I think that one thing that they'll always, one like a trademark almost, is talking about Jannah, paradise. Because if paradise isn't real to you, then where's your motivation for practicing Islam?
SubhanAllah.
If Jahannam isn't real to you, what is your motivation for avoiding sins? Like if the hereafter becomes a fairy tale and a kind of not a real life reality, then that's your why. Like, you know, there's a motivational talk that I listened to once, like, what is your why? You know, and like why it's, and then I associated it back with Islam and say, okay, so why?
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good talk. What is your why? Like, what motivates you? What drives you? Like, why do you fast for a month in the heat? Why do you cover? Why do you have the most beautiful attributes and like hair and whatever body, but you cover? Why do you do that? Why do you pray? Why do you give charity? Why do you do all of these things? Some people, they will not give the correct answer. Actually, they will say, because I want to be a Muslim, or because Allah says this in the Qur'an. That's not really the reality. The reality of the matter is that you do these things, or at least you should do these things, because you want to be saved from the hellfire and you want to enter paradise. Allah says that is the ultimate success. That is the ultimate success, to be saved from the hellfire and to enter Jannah. That's your way. So if you don't know what's in Jannah, or if you forgot about Jannah, and that actually happens, people genuinely, real talk, just don't think about Jannah at all, or Jahannam, then where is your motivation? What is your drive? That's maybe why some people are so up and so down in their deen, because the hereafter has not been made a real reality to them. Where do the clothes come from in Jannah? What food do you eat in Jannah? What are your houses like? What are your houses like? What are they made of? What's intercourse with your spouse like there? What does your spouse look like? What's the socializing like? What's the drink like? Is there night and day? Do you sleep? Do you, when you know these things, it takes you to a different level. What's in Jahannam? What do you eat there? What's the punishment like? What's your body like? You know? In Jahannam, I'll mention it. I rarely talk about Jahannam now, if you've noticed. I like to talk about the hereafter, but I like to talk about paradise. And the reason I don't talk about Jahannam is because, wallahi, I feel like the people can't take it.
But you know what it is, bro? The beautiful thing about this is that Allah has told us about Jannah and Jahannam. And one of the things is that Allah knows that there's certain people who their motivation will be to be safe from punishment. Other people, their motivation will be to go into Jannah, and that's true, bro. Because you speak to different people about different things. Like for me, what motivates me? Yes, obviously I want Jannah, but what motivates me is when I hear stuff like, Yom Kiyama, we're gonna be scared. Yom Kiyama, our sweat is gonna be according to our sins, and how it's just gonna be a day when you just want shade. Actually, my motivation is I want shade on that day. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas for other people, of course I want Jannah. When I hear about Jannah, this is Yusha Evans talk that Nate put me on before, and he describes Jannah in detail. I've never heard Jannah.
What was the source? What was the source of the lecture? Can you not really say?
No, the title of it was The Mercy of Allah.
Oh, okay.
And
It's by Yusha Evans.
Oh, okay, it's by Yusha Evans.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's another one, but I won't mention the name on here. But there's another one called it's called the Hereafter series.
Okay, yeah.
It's renowned. Have you heard about the Hereafter series? Yeah. So it talks about from the grave to Jannah and Jahannam. In detail, and it's brilliant as well.
So
this talk, it was telling you about the details of paradise,
bro.
yeah?
So basically,
So
you rarely see Yusha like tearing up or crying, and he was tearing up in this video.
Talking about Jannah.
Oh, talk about Jannah. Like I think the thing that made him teared up the most, because he built it up like, that man knows how to tell a story.
Yeah, he does.
He's right. So first of all, he's describing Jannah. He's talking about the cart stuff. Like, he's talking about the houses. Like he's saying like your houses are gonna be so wide that like there's gonna be one wing that's like this big, and then this big. Like forget the mansion that you see here. And he's like building and making you think, oh, I want that. But then like everything that he talks about next, you're like, no, I want that. Then he's like talking about the rivers, and like each river is gonna be like this, the clothing like of like silk and all this kind of. Actually, then he said there's gonna be this one day, and this way starts showing this. You're on it. You're like, Jannah is for me. And then he goes, there's this one day, and you're like, oh, what's this day? He's like, there's this one day in Jannah, and it's called, what was it called?
I can't remember.
And he's like, there's this one day in Jannah, where the people will gather, and you're like, and by the way, for those listening, I haven't heard this lecture in a minute, so I'm more so trying to explain like how he says it rather than the facts. So don't be too hung up on the facts, because I might get some of them wrong. And when it comes to the religion, we want to take all of our sources properly. So go back to the lecture. Nate was saying it was called
The Mercy of Allah.
The Mercy of Allah by Yusha Evans. So definitely watch out for the facts.
The
But
intro will get you on that one.
yeah. So bro, because Nate said to me, bro, I just watched this lecture, it's hit me, and he sent it to me, and I thought to myself, all right, I got 10 minutes, let me just like tease myself a little, like watch the first 10 minutes, and then I know what I'm like looking forward to. I watched the whole 45 minutes or however long it was straight away. And Nate said when you start it, you're gonna watch your thing anyway. So then he's like, there's this day in Jannah, and he's like, the people will gather, and you're like, all right, cool. So what is this? He's building this place. And he's like, and then all of the inhabitants of Jannah, and then Allah says to the people like something like, what is it? What he asked them what they want or something.
Yeah. So they ask you what you want, and they ask just to see your face or something like that.
Yeah, and the way he builds it though, he doesn't tell you that yet. So he's building it like, and you're in Jannah, and imagine you're in Jannah, and you say to Allah, Allah, you have given us Jannah. Like, what more could we ask you for the Jannah? Like, that's how he said it. You're like, yeah, that's all. I'm happy. I don't need nothing. And he's like, and then the people said, Allah, you have given us everything. The only thing that's left is let us see your beloved face. And he's just weeping Yusha Evans, like the manliest man I know is Yusha Evans. Like, you see, if you meet him in person, he's not about bro, he's about, he's one of them ones that, there's certain man that you feel like you can crack a joke in front of. You can crack a joke in front of Yusha, but you gotta be careful, bro. They better be a good joke. Because if you crack a joke,
he's into martial arts and that, innit?
Bro,
so
he's
very
a black
disciplined.
Yeah, so if you crack a joke for him and it's like not really appropriate, or it's not funny, like, he ain't gonna try and like make you feel good by a lot, bro. Straight face. And it's one of the people that when you're around him, you don't want to talk too much, because it's like you don't want to embarrass yourself. Proper manly man, innit? Like, and he's about myself. He's like what he's very much so like, men need to be men. Do you know what I mean? So, but he's weeping he's like, and the people of Jannah, they are with Allah, you have given us everything. The only thing that's left for us is allow us to see your beloved face. And and you're just hurt, you like, raw, like, are they gonna see his face? Like, are we gonna see Allah's face in Jannah? And then he just got and he talks about like it's called like the day of light or something. I can't remember, but it's something to do with light. It's something to do with light. Yeah, I need to watch it again.
I still need to watch it again because need to balance myself back out because that was.
Yeah, I remember.
one of them.
I've heard this. I've heard this narration too. I think this is when they say, "Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam."
Yeah, maybe.
Allahumma
Yeah,
anta salam wa minka salam.
I believe so.
Tabarakta ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Like from you is peace. Like you are the owner of peace. Allahumma anta salam, you are peace. Wa minka salam, the owner of peace.
He was saying that. I think he was saying that they'll say like all like in our dunya we worshipped you and like we loved you and all this kind of stuff. Like we did everything for you. Like we just want the reward of seeing your face. And it's like when you put it like that, it's like it just gives you that motivation. Like, you know what? Yeah, like this is. I'm doing this for Allah. I love Allah, and that's what I want. I want that. So don't get me wrong. There are times, a lot of times, like when I hear stuff like that motivates me. However, when I hear stuff like, do you know what it motivates me a lot, bro? Is stuff like not even past Yom Qiyamah, like the grave, Yom Qiyamah. When I'm hearing how difficult the grave is, like, I want ease in my grave. May Allah give us all ease in our grave. Actually, when I'm hearing like about if you could hear the people of the grave, you would not bury your dead. I'm thinking, subhanallah, because
So what are you saying in that video? In that video, you learn a lot about Jannah.
Jannah, yeah.
All right, let me test you then. Yeah.
Nah, it's been a minute.
Okay, I need to test you, bro. And I'm going to test you about Jahannam as well, because it's a learning exercise. It's a learning exercise for the listeners, inshallah ta'ala. All right.
It's going to be a humbling experience for me.
Inshallah. All right. I'll start off with some light ones. What garments do we wear in Jannah? Like what's it made out of?
Silk.
All right. So there's a thin silk and then there's a thick silk.
Okay.
What color are they?
Gold.
Green, like
Okay.
green, gold embroidery.
Okay.
Where do the clothes come from in Jannah? This is a hard one.
I don't know.
The clothes actually come from the trees.
Okay.
No, the clothes come from the trees. One of the Sahabas asked, one of the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, like, where do the clothes come from in Jannah? And then the other Sahabas sitting around, like, kind of laughed at him, like, what kind of question is this? But then the Prophet said, nah, like, when it comes to Jannah, obviously there's no kind of silly questions, essentially.
Right.
And the clothes come from the trees. What are the palaces made out of?
I want to say gold.
So they're made of gold and silver transparent bricks.
Okay.
So obviously this is a metal material, whatever, that doesn't exist in the dunya.
Right.
It's gold and silver, but it's transparent. So the owner of the palace, from outside the palace, can see in, and when they're inside, they can see out.
But no one else.
But
can.
no one else
Okay.
can. But no one else can.
Almost like glass, but not reflective.
Don't know what it's gonna be like, but because it's not, it won't be like glass, obviously, because there's a difference between gold and silver, and you can see that. Okay, what's the first thing that you'll eat in Jannah? Or what's one of the delicacies? Like, what's one of the nice foods that the people will eat in Jannah and I'll actually enjoy?
Specifically.
So I know there's like there's rivers of milk, but not like the milk that we imagine.
Yeah.
And there's like alcohol, but not like alcohol as in the alcohol that is in this dunya and stuff. Delicacies wise, he did discuss it in it. I want to say fruit as well.
There are fruits, and then the fruits are of various types, and they said that in the Qur'an Allah mentions that they'll say that this is what we had before. So the scholars have difference of opinion regarding this. Is sort of like it looks the same but tastes different.
Okay.
Or in kind of in that sense is one of the opinions. But obviously there's fruit. But one of the main delicacies in Jannah that the people will enjoy, it doesn't sound pleasant to us now, but obviously in the Akhirah we'll love it, is whale's liver.
Okay, I didn't know. I'd never heard of this.
Yeah, whale's liver. And one of the first things we'll eat in Jannah, and it's actually grazing off the grass of the pasture in Jannah now, is an ox.
Okay.
So right now, as it stands, literally right now, because we know Jannah already exists, there's an ox literally grazing off of Jannah, and that is what you'll eat. That's one of the first things you'll eat.
How amazing is it to just imagine that Jannah exists? Like right now, as we are living and breathing, there is Jannah. Like
it's there, bro.
It's there. Like
it's there. The Shuhada are already there, like flying
around. It's there, bro. Like how mad is that?
It's mad, bro. Like the palace is your palace is there. It's just uninhabited yet, but it's literally there. And even if you go into Jahannam, it will still be there, and someone else, I guess, will inherit it. Because one of the punishments of the grave is that you'll be shown, this is where you would have been.
Yeah.
This is where you would have been. and then this is where you are. And you'll be shown your place in Jahannam,
Subhanallah.
and then you'll say, "Oh, Allah, never bring the day of judgment." Imagine how that will feel, knowing that the day of judgment is coming. It's just a matter of time, and that is where you're going to, and that's where you could have
You
been.
never want to.
The day of regret. Is
Allah
there
protect us,
night and
everyone
day in
listening,
Jannah? Is there night and day in Jannah?
night and day in Jannah.
Yeah.
Oh, he discussed this in the video. I think.
The main reason I'm doing this really is to educate the listeners.
I want to
be
say
real.
no.
There isn't night and day. There isn't night and day in Jannah, but the way that you can distinguish between night and day is there's a beam that comes from under the arsh of Allah.
Okay.
So there's like a beam that becomes distinct, that you can see it, and I think that represents the night, the sort of the night time. But there is no actual night and day, but that beam is what distinguishes it. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful things about Jannah, subhanallah. Obviously, in terms of our age, I'm sure you know about our age in Jannah.
Everyone's going to be the same age.
Yeah, everyone's going to be the same age, 33 years old.
Oh, wow.
Then the age of Isa alayhi salam, I think when he ascended to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The height of Adam alayhi salam, half the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam. No beards in Jannah. In terms of physical capabilities are obviously much more than in the dunya. There's a beautiful narration. 1 second.
No worries. Yeah, man.
There's a beautiful narration, yeah, that I just absolutely love. And it was narrated by, I think the hadith was narrated by Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. Yeah, it was. And it said that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Verily in paradise, there's a market in which the inhabitants of paradise will come to every Friday. The north wind will blow and scatter fragrances on their faces and on their clothes.
Yeah, I heard this.
This will add to their beauty and their attractiveness. They will then go back to their families after having added luster to their beauty and their attractiveness. And their families will say to them, by Allah, Wallahi, you have been increasing beauty and loveliness after leaving us. And they will say, by Allah, you too have increased in beauty and attractiveness after us." Like, see, the thing about Jannah, yeah, is that every single day, every single experience is better than the last. So, you know, sometimes you think, I might get bored in Jannah, I might have explored everything. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's like from Allah's greatness, His perfection, His in majesty, His power, that He's able to make something so perfect, but then increase it in perfection for eternity. And in Jahannam, every day is worse than the last day. Every single day is worse than the last day. And one of the things I was going to say before, about I'm only going to mention one thing about Jahannam, because wallahi, I feel as though the people nowadays are very weak. This is just the truth of the matter. I really feel like mentally, spiritually, the people are very weak. So I don't like to talk about Jahannam too much, because I feel as though rather than people taking benefit from it, they more rather actually have a defeatist mentality and think that that's it, that's where they're going, and that's a wrap. But I'll mention one thing just for the sake of there is wisdom in mentioning about Jahannam, otherwise Allah wouldn't have spoken about it. So there is wisdom there. It's just for my own observation of how the people are. I don't feel confident to talk about it. But where are the pain receptors in the body? Where does a human being feel pain?
Fingertips.
Skin.
Okay.
Like the pain receptors are in your skin, yeah? So once you go past the skin, you don't feel pain.
Yeah.
All the pain receptors are in the skin. In Jahannam, the bodies are not like here in the dunya. Allah makes your skin thick. So for the fire to burn through.
And is it not that your skin
Allah
keeps
doesn't
going
mess
back?
about, you know. That's the thing about Allah. Like this is what these, you know, when you talk about these these Muslim comedians and you know that you don't I don't understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why the people say the people who fear Allah are the scholars, because they know Allah better than anyone else. Allah isn't a joke. Allah is not a joker. Like we're around so many blaggers, so many people that just take life as a joke, that we find it hard to conceive the reality of something like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is so merciful and loving fully. And when He says He's the most severe in punishment, He really is the most severe in punishment. It's not a joke. And that's one of the things about society. And it's actually mentioned amongst non-Muslims as well about the kind of work, our culture in this country of work, for example. Like our productivity is very, very low. Like, we just want to come in and try and basically blag our way through the day, and our successful day is doing as little as possible. That's how we are.
True.
That's how, like, with my work, when I'm on a crane, bro, I just love to just chill. And if somebody asks me for a lift, I feel like they're actually interrupting my day, even though that's what I'm there for. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've become a people of blaggers so much that it actually affects us in almost every sense of your life. You become a blagger as a wife, you become a blagger as a husband, you become a blagger as a Muslim, you become a blagger as a business person. You just want to look the part or just scrape by. No one ever actually wants to apply themselves and be good and be best and excelling in what you're doing.
Just clock in, clock out.
Yeah, clock in, clock out. I'm a husband. Yeah, I'm a husband when we're together in bed, and I'm a husband when I buy you stuff from time to time. Other than that, I don't know. I'm a single guy. I'm out with my friends. I talk to other women. Same with women. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a dangerous mindset and a dangerous culture that we've implemented, and it's something that traverses just the work area. It affects your whole life.
No.
That's why we're Muslim. We're blaggers as Muslims.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that really has to change. And I think one of the things that's really important as a mindset for people is that you need to be someone who just strives to just be real. That you can look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with who you are. That's it. You know, and I feel like if people were to be more content with themselves and focusing on being real and being who they say they are, then they would find a lot more success. When I went through my trials I was talking about, one of the things that got me through it was I've looked at other people who I've gone through trials on social media, and I've seen their weakness in the face of those trials because it's become apparent. Some people go for a trial and they start tatting their body up, they start doing music, they start doing all this, turn away from the deen. And like, a lot of people have sympathy for them. That's cool. That's just not really my nature. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wusaha. Allah doesn't burden a soul beyond its capacity, which means if you go through a trial, you have the capacity to deal with it. You might not deal with it straight away. There's a nature of a trial. You have to have a dip and then you'll rise. But then obviously, how long that dip goes for, Allahu alam, I don't know, until you're blameworthy or whatever the case may be. But I used to observe those people, and I used to say to myself that this is weakness, basically. It's a weak individual. And I said to myself that if I ever go through a trial, I want to deal with it this way. You know, I want to deal with it the way the Sahaba would have dealt with it. I want to be able to be a real one. I say I'm a Muslim, so let me be a Muslim. I went through a heavy trial, the details of which I would never discuss. But anyway, it wasn't pleasant. It was a great trial. And I said to myself, okay, you say you're a Muslim. Now Allah says to you, go and be a Muslim now. Because it was easy to be a Muslim in times of ease. How are you going to be a Muslim in times of hardship? And alhamdulillah, because of whatever knowledge that I gained from my times of studying the deen, I know that the only time I really take an L, regardless of whatever the situation is, the only time I take an L is when I turn away from Allah. That's the ultimate L. If you don't do that and you stay close to Allah and you go nearer to Allah in your trial, you will get the biggest W. And even something that appears as an L, Allah will turn it into a W. And that's what happened with me. Like, real talk, like, I really went through a heavy trial and I didn't go further away from Allah, I just went closer. I said, I need to be as close to you as humanly possible right now.
I need you the most right now.
I need you right now. I can't do the other thing. I'm not trying to find comfort in women. I'm not trying to find comfort in music. I'm not trying to find comfort in raving or going out or anything like that. Even in my companions, I went so quiet on the group. I was like the life of the party in the group. I just went missing. And I just said, I need to be close to you. And that's what I did. And it completely changed my life. Like, literally, in terms of dunya and deen. Like, I earn more than I've ever earned before in my life. Like, I have more than I've ever had in my life. Like, trials, you know what trials are? They're presents. That is literally what a trial is.
A gift.
It's a gift.
Just don't know it at the time.
But one of the blessings that you need to be able to, one of the blessings of a trial in and of itself is being able to recognize that it's a trial. So it's all about mindset and understanding that when you're in a trial, you need to recognize it for what it is and utilize it to the best of your ability. Because when I was talking about the person being in a cave and coming out of it richer with treasures that they would never have had otherwise, there were some people that leave that cave poorer than when they came in. They've lost things in that darkness that they can't get back, again. and they got no benefit for whatsoever in the slightest.
Little did they know there was all those treasures that they didn't
All
look for,
those
did they
treasures
find?
were there.
Subhanallah.
All those treasures were there. And the heavier the affliction, the heavier the trial, the greater the reward is.
No.
And so obviously, and I want to send a message out to anyone that's been afflicted with like sihr, any kind of magic or any kind of, because there are so many people going through it. I never knew how common this was, because I do the counselling as well. A lot of the people I speak to have been afflicted with this stuff, and it's so common. So I only just found out, actually, let me sort of talk about other people's business that I know, but like, I've even got family members I didn't know they've been afflicted with this kind of stuff.
Of course, man, it's huge. That's actually the. I started practicing when I was 20, yeah, so which was now 4 years ago, and that's the first thing that one of the first things as I started practicing that was shown to me, and I was basically I did when I first started practicing, our brother convinced me to do itikaf, and so I didn't know much about the religion really, other than the surface of what we're taught, and then so that was my first indication of proper, like, I didn't even know what Aqidah was. I didn't know any of that. I didn't even know, like, I knew basically like zero when it comes to, I couldn't even read Alif Ba Ta, innit? And so imagine I'm like a couple weeks into the religion as a practicing Muslim, and I'm living now in itikaf, and it comes out that we're living with some people that are going through like a madness when it comes to that kind of stuff, like, and I was exposed to it on a level where I was like, raw, subhanAllah, like in my first like but these times I've still got outward sins that you can see on me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm that fresh into the religion. Like, I've got outward sins that a person would look at me and be like, why is he in a mosque? You know what I mean? Yet, and I'm dealing with, and I'm like, Allah's showing me this, and I'm so grateful to Allah for showing me that, and because it toughened me up quick and it brought me to reality. Jibril, there's a bunch of stuff I want to go into. I want to talk about.
Can I just quickly say one thing, because I just on that subject of sihr, because so many people go through it, and it's kind of relevant to what I went through, the trial that I went through, is that anybody going through that, Sheikh Abu Ubaid, who's like a specialist in this field and does consultations, counselling, ruqya, etc., he said that sihr is one of the greatest oppressions that one person can do to another, but it can only happen with Allah's permission. It has to kind of pass through his court. So when somebody does it, it doesn't mean that by necessity that it works. It has to be given permission, authority to work. Like any harm, that can only come by Allah's permission. But there's a wisdom in it. There's a cure in it, and the only cure is through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not medicine, nothing like that. The cure is your Qur'an, and you're building a relationship with Allah. But the reward for overcoming that trial and taking the means are great, because the trial is great. And if I were to tell you guys about some of the blessings that I've had experienced through seeking those means of cure and growing closer to Allah, you'd be astounded. Like, for example, I don't want to go into detail because it involves money, but there were 260 odd thousand people in this competition that I did. Halal competition, alhamdulillah. I've been doing it for the last few seasons. 260 odd thousand people was in it, and I came first by 1 point.
Allahumma barik.
And I was making dua for it, and I was reciting the Qur'an with the intention to be successful in it, etc. And that victory really propelled me on massively.
SubhanAllah, you know what? You speak about something. Actually, hold that thought. Hold the thought of that you're reading the Qur'an with the intention of getting success out of it. We're going to go on a quick break. Going to freshen up, and we'll come back, inshallah. And when we come back, inshallah, I want to talk about that firstly, so let's hold that thought. I want to talk about your counselling project that you just set up, your intentions with that, how that's been going so far, because I know it's very fresh. You've been talking to me about it since we first ever met. We'll talk about how we first ever met, where we met, and then we'll go into some current events as well with Nate. So we'll be back very shortly after a very small men's toilet break. Alright, cool. Yeah, so before the break, you were mentioning, we were talking about something, and then you had said that I read Qur'an with the intention of getting success in that particular thing, but it reminded me of something that happened to me recently. When I say recently, I mean maybe a few weeks ago. What happened is, I was going through a bit of a test, and I needed something to happen, and I had a time limit on it. And I didn't know how it was going to happen in it. And I just remember thinking to myself, so that day I had a very stressful day, and without going into like the details of it, basically I tried kind of every avenue I could have to make this thing happen. And I thought to myself, you know what? You've tried everything now. There's nothing that you can think of to try. Just go home, read some Qur'an, and let Allah, because you've done like you've charged your camera. There's no other avenue. I thought, and my time limit was that like it was becoming evening now. And by the next morning, I needed this thing to happen in it. I know it sounds very vague because I'm not explaining what it is.
That's cool.
And I went home. I was just by myself, and so I picked up the Qur'an and I started reading it. But I read it with the intention that Allah fixes this thing for me in it. And I see no avenue in how this thing can get fixed now. I can't see it physically, like possible. I'm thinking to myself that even if this happens, I can't think of a way that this is gonna happen and get sorted. So I just thought, I can't do anything else. Let me just go home. Alhamdulillah, right now the house is empty. Just read some Qur'an. So I started reading Qur'an now. Yeah. I read a couple pages, maybe one page. I can't remember. I read a couple pages. I get this message. Everything's sorted. Everything's done. And the way it happened is it was so normal. It was so like, there were so many things that could have gone wrong, but everything went so right that it's never even happened like this before. Like, I got a message where something was done, and then it's like it got done so quick, and then all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, not only is my thing fixed, but like so many other things got fixed. But I put down the kitab and I just went into sujood to Allah. And then, do you know what I thought to myself, bro? I thought, how crazy is it that the book of Allah, the kitab, yeah, it helps me. The more I read it, the more happy I will get, yeah. It will soften my heart to be more inclined to Allah. It will bring me closer to Allah. It will protect me. It will help me. And how, like, horrible is it that I selfishly only read it because I wanted something from Allah. And then even then, Allah gave it to me. I wasn't even I read it with such a selfish intention. Like, not even like, let me recite the word of Allah to get ajr. Let me recite the word of Allah just because it's Allah's book. Just because it's the Qur'an. None of that. Like, I read it with the sole intention that maybe this will be the thing that will get me the thing that I want. And that was my selfish intention. And even then, Allah gave me what I needed.
You know, when it comes to the Qur'an, I'd go as, I don't think it's wrong to say that it's okay to be selfish.
Yeah.
Because Allah is Al-Ghani, like He's the most rich, and we're so poor.
Yeah.
Like Allah actually says that I'm rich and you're poor. You know what I'm saying? Like He's self-sufficient, He's as-samad, and we're completely dependent on Him. So everything we do in Islam really is for ourselves. Even when we give sadaqah, it's for ourselves. Do you understand? Like everything we do in reality is for ourselves. It's for our own benefit and our own akhirah. And obviously you do certain things for Allah's pleasure. So I know what you're saying. I didn't really do it to please Allah. Like I did it because I had a need and I needed Allah to fulfill the need. But where you could have gone to other places to try and get that need fulfilled, at least you went to the kitab of Allah. You performed an act of ibadah, and it's an evidence of your iman and knowledge of tawheed that you went to Allah. You went to His book. You went to His kalam. So Allah would have been pleased with you for that. Hence He answered your dua and rectified your affairs. And I was saying to Nate before that I've been a Muslim for coming up to 8 years. And I never understood what the Qur'an was properly until after I'd listened to Sheikh Abu Ubaid's mindsets lesson on the Qur'an, first episode. And the Qur'an is not a book. It's more than a book. It is a kitab, yes, but the books don't cure. Books can give you understanding and knowledge, but in and of itself, they don't cure you from sicknesses, for example, or mental psychological afflictions, or they don't give you wealth. They don't shape your existence and your world around you. They don't help you overcome phobias or fears. The Qur'an, if you recite, because what you did was fascinating, because you did it without, I don't know if you'd heard somewhere it mentioned to do this, but rather than raising your hands and making dua, you read the Qur'an with an intention for a dua. Basically, you made dua through the Qur'an, and that is a very, 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 very powerful thing to do. a very powerful thing to do.
Oh, bro, do you know
And
what this is
you know-
making me do?
you know-
This is making me just want to go home with Qur'an.
Bruv, I'm telling you, same here. The Sheikh Abdul Rashid Ali Sufi was
Have one
obviously we're
hand.
going to see him on Saturday, inshallah. Sheikh Abdul Rashid.
Yeah.
He was saying in that it became quite a popular video recently. Have you seen it where he's sitting down talking and someone's asking him about? He's talking about his dad.
Do you know
How
what's
he saw
really
his dad
sad?
reciting the Quran.
Is that I've seen that video so much, yeah. And honestly, keep saying to me, listen to that video. I'm like, yeah, I will. And I haven't actually
Bro,
just
listen to it.
watched it and listened to it.
It just kind of affirms the mindset.
Yeah.
Because his father is, it's after Fajr, his father's reciting the Quran or he's making dhikr, one or the other, probably reciting the Quran maybe. And Sheikh Abdul Rashid is carrying his English books because he wants to learn the English language, and his father sees him. He says, "What are you doing with these books?" And Sheikh Abdul Rashid says to his father, "You know, I'm going to learn the English language." And and his dad didn't tell him not to learn the English language, but he said, "You see this and this and this," and started pointing out different shops around the Somali, in the place and where they was living in Somalia. He said, whose are they? And he said, they're yours. They're all for you. He said, "Do you know how I didn't get all of these things through the English language?" He said, "If you want the dunya and you want success in the akhirah, then study the Qur'an." And I don't know how much you know about Sheikh Abdul Rashid Ali Sufi, but alhamdulillah, his dunya's alhamdulillah on point. MashaAllah, he's head of Qur'an in Qatar. He lives in Qatar. I visited him in the Qatari royal family in Dorchester a few years ago. Yeah. You know, like he's good, alhamdulillah. And you know, if you want, and the lesson was, if you want anything, there's no better reason for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give it to you except through the Quran. And Sheikh Abu Ubaid mentioned that, you know how people get excited about Zamzam water because there's a somewhat authentic narration that if you drink Zamzam water, you make dua, it's likely it's going to be answered. The Quran is even more of a guarantee than that. But nobody knows about reciting the Quran with an intention for something. I had a severe fear of heights. In PE, went years ago, and I was in secondary school, I was the only person that didn't abseil during rock climbing. Girls did it, boys did it, everyone did it except for me. I couldn't abseil. I got a serious fear of heights. Now, my work is literally up in the sky. On the tower crane, it's like high. I have to climb.
Yeah, you showed me a video one time.
Yeah, like I have to climb it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I overcame that fear of heights via dua and recitation of the Quran. It's an amazing thing, subhanAllah. It really, really is.
SubhanAllah, man, this is really making me want to go and leave this stuff and just read the Quran. Akhi, so moving on, earlier you were talking to us about, you know, how we were speaking about your daughters, and we were speaking about, and you mentioned your ex-wife, and you're talking about, you know, certain trials that you've been through in recent years. And that's something that I want to touch on, because I think that the issue of divorce is something that's very, very... It's two things. I think that A, it's kind of a taboo that people don't talk about. And then B, it's one of those things that people say that's never going to happen to me. You know what I'm saying?
I was 1,000,000% that person.
Yeah. And the truth is that it's a reality in life that people go through it. And then it's another reality. I know I'm kind of laying out everything now because all of these things that I'm saying in itself, already the two things that I mentioned are things that we could talk about for hours. And the third thing I know is something that we talk about for hours. But I'll mention it all now, so then maybe I can get your thoughts on it without me having to interrupt you. And it's something that Muslim Bilal brought up in he did his first episode. He must have been on like the third ever episode of Freshly Grounded or something, like very, very early on, maybe episode 6. And he spoke a lot about divorce and marriage, and obviously we know that he was married before. And he spoke a lot about like how divorced people are seen in our cultures, our religion. Not in our religion like by the religion, but in our religion in the sense of the people of the religion, Muslims, innit? Not Islam. And so that's another aspect, like how divorced people are seen, and the thing of like, oh, if he's divorced, like maybe, or like you have to think to yourself, why is he divorced? Like, do you really want to marry into someone who's divorced, and this kind of stuff? So I want to know about all of those kind of things through your journey, and feel free to tell as much and as little as you wish, and talk about in a generic way or a specific way. But I think it's just definitely something that I want to touch on for this podcast.
I feel as though the effects of divorce are much more severe on the women. for their deen, like spiritually and mentally, I think it has a much heavier effect on them. And even in terms of stigma and finding it difficult to find a spouse after, even wanting a spouse after. Because, of course, if there are children involved, then obviously that's a heavy responsibility and something else that another man would have to take on. I know of some brothers who have married sisters who have got children from previous marriages, and they're very happy, very, very happy, alhamdulillah. And there are obviously many women who are single parent mums, and they will struggle and find it difficult. As for the men, I don't know what Muslim Bilal experienced, too tough in that regard. I think it very much depends on the type of culture of the sister that you're considering for marriage, because in certain cultures it might be looked at it might be magnified, yeah, rather than exaggerated, but I say magnified is a better word to use. But for myself personally, when I've met sisters and gave people the chance to get to know me and me to get to know them, it's never been an issue. Alhamdulillah, it's never, ever, 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 ever come up as an issue. The fact that I've been married previously and even having kids. But at the same time, that's talk. You know, you never know when it comes actually down to it. If there was actual marriage, and perhaps it would cause a strain. Allah knows best. But I haven't had any stigma attached to me in that regard. But on the subject of divorce itself, it's something that really... I keep referencing Sheikh Abu Ubaid, but obviously I listen to him, and he's someone that when he speaks, I listen. And he said that because he's got a lot of experience, he's been doing it for over 20 years, doing marriage counselling and all that kind of stuff. He said in the Muslim community, divorce is not quite yet at crisis level, but he said it's very, very close to crisis level. Very close to crisis level. And I know Sheikh Abu Ubaid, and I know how he thinks before he speaks, and he speaks with a lot of wisdom. I think essentially it's at crisis level. But he doesn't want to say that, but that's really the reality. That it's about 75%. And there's a few reasons for that. I feel like I feel very certain that there are some clear reasons for that. I feel like the asl of the reason, the origin, the root of the reason for divorce, so much divorce, is a lack of gratitude. A lack of gratitude to Allah, for a lack of gratitude for Iman, a lack of gratitude for your spouse, a lack of gratitude for yourself. And we're people who are very distracted, especially men are very easily distracted. So once you're married, I posted something, I'm not sure if you saw it. Did you see the post I put recently about the man who asked the wise man about his wife and how he found her very beautiful before?
I saw that post.
Yeah. So when you are in the process of getting married, your spouse is the most beautiful thing to you in the world, and you can't even really see anyone else. You can't, like, they don't even have faces. Like, then when you marry them, the other people start to become beautiful to you. And then over time, this can become stronger and stronger. So when you're on social media, and we live in a society where there's very little morality and modesty. If the man can't look down or avoid opening doors, or you will become distracted and your heart will become sick, and you will start to lose gratitude and shukr for what you have. And I feel as though men make this mistake a lot. Women can make that mistake as well. And I'm sure they do, but maybe they're a bit more subtle with it. Perhaps Allah knows best. But we have to realize that the people give this dunya too much ratings than it's worth. We're here for a little while. Do you understand what I'm saying? We've got a goal to reach. You have a spouse. You married her for a reason. You have to have that mentality. You just want to make it work. But if you're not grateful and you keep thinking you can do better, you end up with nothing. Allah won't honor that mindset. Allah won't honor that lack of gratitude. Yahamakallah. Allah won't honor that mindset. So you may think, I can do better, and you're gonna leave this woman who you've married and taken away from her family, and she's made sacrifices for you, perhaps with her work or with her body, having children, etc. Allah will not honor you with better for leaving her with that intention. It's just a lack of gratitude. You know, so the men and the women, they have to be grateful. The women have to be patient with their husbands. They go through a lot of struggles in the dunya, trying to provide, trying to find their way, trying to maintain their man, trying to maintain loyalty and honesty in these times. The women have to be grateful. The women have to have gratitude. The women have to not be looking at false, let me not say false, marriages or relationships online and thinking that it's exactly what they show and thinking, why can't I have that? Lack of gratitude. And then you end up with nothing.
Can I ask, do you think that as well as gratitude, it also has something to do with expectations? Because let's say, for example, a man expects something from his wife, whether that be something small or large, and then he doesn't get it, and then he gets angry, and that causes issue in marriage. But if he lessens his expectations, but if he doesn't expect that in the first place, then that wouldn't happen. Which kind of leads on to what I was saying a few weeks ago about like when I was listening to some mental strength stuff. It was saying that if you like, the way to increase your mental strength is if you really like expect the worst. Now, obviously, you shouldn't do this in marriage necessarily, but if you expect that things are going to always be difficult for you, then your mental strength will always be high, because it's never going to shock you and be like, oh, wow, things are so hard. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like, I expected it to be harder in life in terms of dunya. So I'm saying, do you think that has anything to do with expectations, like what a man expects from his wife and what a wife expects from her man?
Because it's dunya, that mindset I don't think works.
Okay.
That mindset of expecting the worst so that you're never shocked. Allah will shock you.
Okay.
Allah will shock your ass. Trust me, he'll find a way. And it's not hard for Allah to find a way. Allah doesn't need to find a way. Allah makes a way.
Yeah.
Allah doesn't need to find anything. You will be shocked. You will be shocked. If somebody told me that I would go through what I went through a year ago, a year and a half ago, I would be like, what? Are you crazy? Like, no way. No way. But Allah will do as He wills. I remember actually saying to Allah, I know you won't do this to me. I know you won't do this. And Allah said, yeah? Okay, go on, hold that. And I'm actually going to put you, because Allah knows the inside of a person. Allah knows what their fears are, what their worst calamities are in their mind. Allah knew what mine was. And He put me right, like to the letter. Like if I was to even be specific with it, Allah gave me all of it. So here you go. Like there's nothing. I remember when I was going through the early phases of the trial and hearing about a man that, this is when Grenfell Towers happened. And I remember I was doing a course, and the kind of guy who owns the company who was offering the course, we was on the way to Jummah together, and he was telling me about the muadhin from a masjid who was doing Umrah, and he lost his wife and kids in the fire in Grenfell, yeah? When he told me that, selfishly, I worried for myself. I felt for him, and I worried for myself, because I said, if Allah can do that to a person who is someone who calls the adhan in a masjid, not to say that makes him pious.
Al-Manar.
Allahu alam, what masjid it was, I'm not sure. But he was a muadhin, and he lost his wife and kids whilst he was performing Umrah. Yeah? Imagine that. It made me think, well, there's no way. Like, what makes him or any other Muslim someone who can face that kind of trial, and Allah won't test me with what my fears are?
I think I might even know the guy you're talking about, yeah. Because I was in the masjid, and there was a guy handing out cake for free, yeah, after Jummah. And one brother, Tommy Evans, was also at this masjid, because he is quite local to where our office is. And he said to me, you know who that man is, the one who's giving out the cake? I said, no. He said he lost his wife and whole family in Grenfell. I said, Allahu Akbar.
Imagine that. So there's no reason, there's no avenue for a person to feel as though Allah won't test me with this or Allah won't test you with that. You will be tested, but your mental strength comes from, I feel as though a lot of it comes from, I don't know if you can train mental strength. I feel like you can train mindsets and understanding. And that's one of the main things I like about my counselling project is helping people understand what you're going through. Like, what actually is it? Are you just blindly just going through something? Or is there a purpose behind it? Is there a benefit in it? Like, what is the reason why? You know, and I feel like a lot of people, they just don't understand the dunya. There's this very sort of like woe is me mentality, or I'm this and I'm depressed and I'm this and I'm that. Like, I've studied psychology, and as far as depression goes, there's a few different schools of thought as psychological disorders and where they come from. But as far as depression goes, which is something that people talk about a lot, I'm depressed and I'm this and I'm that, is either a biological, so it's the biological, psychobiological like stance, which is that there's a lack of chemicals in the brain, obviously that's causing it. So there's a biological imbalance, a chemical imbalance that's causing your depression, which can be a reality and there's evidence for it. Or the psychodynamic perspective, which is that previous experience and traumas has caused it, which I acknowledge these two heavily. But that ayah of la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha, that ayah, that rule, that actual Allah's rule, that I will not burden you more than you can handle, there's a promise. It just leaves room for no excuses. It's as simple as that. It just leaves, unless there's a chemical imbalance, even the psychodynamic, I acknowledge it, but it doesn't mean it's an excuse for sort of staying in a low place and not fulfilling your potential and living a miserable life and not fulfilling Allah's rights because of these reasons. Because Will Smith, he's got a brilliant video on fault versus responsibility. So, for example, there are people that have gone through, for example, they had a dad who was an abusive alcoholic. Yeah, for example, is an example we gave, or maybe your husband or wife cheated and ruined your marriage, or whatever the case may be. No doubt that's going to affect you, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you went through these traumas, but it's your responsibility to find a way to overcome that trauma and make a happy life for yourself. It doesn't mean it's your fault that it happened, but it's your responsibility to rectify yourself. That's the way life works. But people have this mentality where it's like, oh, so-and-so did this to me. Oh, my husband used to talk to other women. Oh, my wife did this, or this person wronged me, or this person cheated me. Like, so what? Yeah, okay, cool, I acknowledge that. It's not to say that it didn't affect you, but what are you going to do now? It's your responsibility to make your life meaningful, to make your life happy. But a lot of people just rather sit there and just wallow in self-pity. And I've got no sympathy for that.
So to go back to the topic at hand, which was that, I kind of asked you about whether expectations have anything to do with it. But we were discussing divorce, and you were talking about gratitude. You were saying that one of the key things about marriage is having gratitude for your spouse.
Expectations is when it comes to expectations, I'd say that's just ignorance.
Okay.
Expectations based on what? Based on movies, based on books, based on previous other marriages that you've looked at, culture. Yeah. Life is life. Yeah. This isn't a script, John. It's not a movie. But
you can't blame people for having expectations in the sense that people have expectations.
It's okay to
for coming into this podcast, for coming in today to this podcast, you have an expectation of anything, of that maybe you're gonna walk in, you're gonna sit down, and like we're gonna talk for ages. If I came
in and you asked me to do 100 press ups,
you didn't have the expectation of it. Exactly. So I'm saying that people do have expectations. That's by default. Yeah, you have to. But
it's ignorance to let those expectations dictate how you treat your marriage.
Okay, right.
It's not ignorance to have expectations. Of course, we have an expectation to stay married. That's what you get married for. You don't expect to have a divorce, but you don't expect these things to happen or that to happen. You don't expect to have a child that's disabled, for example. Nobody expects that, but it happens. So now you've got to deal with it. And that's where being a man comes in. That's where being a leader comes in. That's where being a woman comes in. That's where being an anchor for the marriage comes in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you can't plan it like that. But when you get married, the mindset has to be that I'm in this, like regardless of whatever happens, I'm riding this out, unless the transgressions and the violations of trust are at such an extent where it's better for you to let go. Because sometimes it is. This is why divorce is permissible, although it's disliked. But to say that I expected this sort of like, whatever the expectations, if it's the one that's based around ease and you let that end your marriage, then it depends on the violations, man. Obviously everything depends, everything's circumstantial. But I feel as though a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of marriage. That it's going to be this way and it's going to be that way. Many things in marriages can be overcome. But the thing is that a lot of people, I don't know, they feel as though they have this mentality where they want to dash for the exit. And dashing for the exit just opens up doors for new problems and new issues that you have to face and overcome. So I'm not saying that having expectations are wrong. I just feel as though you have to be willing to either work towards fulfilling those expectations. Sometimes you have to let certain expectations go. You need to be compassionate. You need to be understanding. You need to be able to look at the bigger picture. You need to be able to think about the family, kids, and stuff like that. A lot of people have a nafsi mentality, and from what I've observed, it's part of Allah's sunnah that when you have a nafsi mentality, you end up with less.
Moving forward, do you think that you're ready to look for a new spouse, or do you think that it's too soon?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. It's been over a year. I wasn't ready for a time, and obviously you don't know if you're ready or not unless you give people a chance. So I would give people, I'd meet a few people, and I've met some lovely people, but I knew that I wasn't ready. I found out that it didn't seem to matter how good looking the person was or what they had in terms of the dunya and whatever the case may be, because a lot of women doing well in the dunya, they have a lot of things, but as a man, I don't really think you look at them anyway. So it really doesn't matter about their dunya, their deen, or even their beauty. If you're not ready, you're just not ready. And alhamdulillah, I'm in a position where I'm definitely ready. Alhamdulillah, and Allah, like Allah does, He brings relief out of trials eventually. Alhamdulillah, and I believe that I found mine. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm ready, man. It takes a while. I don't think a lot of people realize how it is for men.
When you say you found relief through your trial, you're saying that we might be seeing a nikah soon?
Some any freshly grounded exclusive, like
trying to get it out. You said you got
any freshly grounded exclusive. Alhamdulillah. Like, you know what? I try not to talk too much about like my private affairs because of what I've experienced in terms of hasad and jealousy and the like. But you can't stop the sun from rising, bro. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So things are gonna happen, and things are gonna move, and yeah, alhamdulillah. I'm for sure ready for marriage.
Inshallah.
You might be invited to a walima soon, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah,
inshallah. I'll make sure I get a nice suit.
Yeah, and it will be a suit, and it will be a suit thing as well. Like, you know how I am with my clothes and stuff like that. So
I already know.
Like, it's gonna.
Yeah, there can't be any suit. If it's Jibril's wedding.
No,
if it's Jibril's wedding, you're not going to any high street store. You're not going Westfield. You ain't going.
You can go Westfield at Reese.
No.
You can go Reese. You can get a good suit from Reese.
3-piece.
Yeah, 3-piece.
It's got to look. Whew, if it's Jibril's wedding, I got to look better than I was looking at my own wedding day.
Bro. It's a way where, like, I don't want anyone to be able to tell who the groom is.
Bro, I couldn't do like that. Like, I couldn't talk to your thing and not at least try and look
like it's your walima.
I have to.
That's it, bro.
What for Jibril?
That's it, Habibi. Like, it has to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So
for a brother who always looks fresh, Allahumma barik.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. But like, yeah, when it comes to marriage and when it comes to spouses, it's something that I felt like I couldn't force. Like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it forward.
Of course.
You can't me, from where I come from, the background I come from, nothing's arranged, you're very much in control of who it is that you want. There's no pressure, there's no force. But Allah puts that love or conviction or certainty for marriage in a person's heart for that individual.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about something that I've wanted to talk to you about for a while, and I think is one of the reasons that I remember you saying before when we first met that you want to jump on freshly grounded when it's the right time, when the puzzle kind of when the pieces of the puzzle fit, namely being a project that you had in mind and you wanted to kind of at least get the project on its feet. So that when we do have the discussion, we can kind of bring that into discussion and talk about it. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this counselling project that you've been doing. I remember the time I think you told me about it was when we met at Muntada a few months ago, and just before Ramadan, and you were saying, look, alhamdulillah, I'm like getting this counselling project on its feet now. And so, yeah, talk to me about it. So what is it specifically? What kind of counselling are you doing? Are you the one doing the counselling? This is the... This is what happens when who's that? Oh, no, do you know what it is? It's my protein.
Mine too.
Oh, maybe it's your protein then. Did you say it was Amazon?
Yeah, mine was like 5 stops away.
Okay, no, that's yours then. Mine's coming with DPD. Yeah, no, that's not me then.
I brought a banging protein shake the other day, man.
Bro, you know what?
I swear, bro, it's vanilla and coconut.
Oh, really?
And
Well,
it's got
I
bits
use
of
coconut milk in
it.
mine.
Oh my days, bro! This protein shake is so wavy, man. I got it from Bodyworks in Tottenham.
Bro, you
So
know,
sick.
some people are like, oh, protein, there's, you get two types of people. Some people are like, yeah, supplements are good, and some people are like completely anti-supplements. And I think that it's one of those things that you have to see if it works for you, depending on what your diet's like, etc. If you can get that amount of protein in on a regular basis through normal diet, I think that is the best thing to do. However, with me, I found that protein shakes work so well, and I haven't had any for the last few months, just because once I had one out, I just didn't get any more. And then the day before yesterday, I bought some, and I'm really excited, bro, because when I'm training and after my session, I'm having a protein shake. I'm seeing the difference in just having a bit extra protein. That's about 23 grams extra protein I'm getting in a day. And when I was training properly, I was getting in. My aim was to get, I think it was like 380 grams of I can't remember, bro. I can't remember. Ajmal had basically weighed it out for me. He checked my age, my height, and my body, and what I'm trying to get to, and he told me exactly how much protein I need, and I was hitting those numbers. And my protein shake was adding to that. Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the Ikhlas counselling project.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So talk to me about it. What is Ikhlas counselling? How did you come about it? And was it partly because of the trial that you went through that you started it?
I definitely feel as though if I hadn't gone through the trial that I went through, do you know, I swear, if I was to speak about it, it would be. It's too personal, though, man.
Yeah, but
It's
do you know what we could
like,
just if you choose that it kind of comes out at a later time, or you want to discuss it later, bro, you're more than welcome to always come back to
yeah,
Fresh
because I
Exams,
feel
man.
like if people really knew the details of it, then they would understand why I'm able to do it. Because forget my studies in psychology, I don't use anything that I learned in psychology really and truly in my counselling. It just doesn't play a part. It's about experience, emotional intelligence, understanding, mindset, Islamic knowledge. It's all of those things. Being able to communicate with people, which has always sort of been my thing anyway. Being able to communicate, and what I learned through my experiences over through the years, obviously of experiencing Jahiliyyah, understanding that lifestyle of not practicing, not knowing Islam, and then practicing Islam. All of these things have been able to give me the tools to be able to speak to people with compassion and understand their circumstances, and for them to be able to talk to me comfortably about issues that they just can't talk to family, friends even, or an imam about. Do you understand? But they want to be able to speak to someone about it who has an understanding and can offer them advice on it. And I'd been giving advice to people, like not randomly, but casually, you could say, through my dawah anyway. People come to me with this issue, they've got that issue, this, that, and the other. And I always found myself eager and willing to solve the puzzle and help them get through it. And after my experiences with getting... I don't really like to say that I'm not a counsellor. I'm more like I just do consultations or advising and just listening and speaking to people. Counsellor sounds too sort of formal. What I do is very sort of relaxed, very genuine, very informal. I allow them to talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about, go into whatever it is that they want to go through, and then I analyse what they're saying. I put the pieces together, and then I give them the understanding of why this is happening, what you can get out of it, and what you need to do to solve it, basically. And sometimes you'll find that some people call up with one issue, and that issue is very insignificant, but there's a bigger issue that we end up talking about. So they didn't think they was going to be talking to me about such and such a thing. They called up for something else, but that was actually nothing. The real root of the problem is something bigger. So I just feel like it's hard to talk about why I do the counselling project, because it always sounds like you're bigging yourself up a bit,
Yeah,
like,
man.
I understand this and I understand that. But alhamdulillah, Allah has... Sometimes I feel like sharing the feedback that I get from my clients on my social media, but I'm a bit uncomfortable to do so. Obviously, even with hiding their identity, because, you know, people have this negative way where they don't like to have a positive thought of people and they feel like you're showing off or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I've spoken to aunties, do you understand what I'm saying? Like old, like grown women, you know, and they, you know, they say alhamdulillah, and that, you know, Allah has being able to bless me with an understanding, basically.
And let's say, for example, a person like myself decides, look, I just want to have a chat with someone who's like outside of my friends and family circle, understands where I'm coming from, has a good balance with Deen and Dunya. Cool, I want to chat to Jibril. How do I do it?
Or most people contact me via the Instagram, which is Ikhlas Counselling, IKHLAAS_counselling.
2 A's.
Yeah, Ikhlas Counselling. And they either send an email through that, or they'll DM me and ask about how it works and if they can book a session. And I do 1 hour sessions. They're £35 a session. And if it's brothers, then we meet face to face. I prefer to meet them face to face. I like to look at people's faces, preferably when I'm speaking to them.
Look at my face.
Yeah, I like to observe their face, and I
can tell because you're a very good listener. I've noticed this from the day I met you, that when you talk to someone, you're very good at conversation on Lombardic, and when you listen to someone, you look like you listen with like attentiveness and concern. Like you can tell someone's listening when you're talking about something that concerns you. They see concern. You see concern on their face, and when you talk about something that's happy, you see a smile on their face.
Yeah. And
I noticed that the first day we met, when we went out for some food in Knightsbridge, we were talking, and if I was saying something good, you were smiling like, oh wow. And then if I was saying something that was a bit like concerning, there'll be concern on your face. And so I think you tick the boxes for someone who would.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you don't teach. You've either got it or you haven't got it. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? You're either gonna be. I remember when I wanted to do mentoring. Yeah, I wanted to work with kids, like naughty kids. Yeah, bad kids, and I started that for a little while. And there was this kid who I didn't know this at the time, but part of the things that he was working on in this unit was looking at people when they spoke to him and kind of opening up, being comfortable to actually have a communication and him actually look at you and talk to you. And this kid, I was talking to him, we was having a nice time talking and whatever, and he was really looking at me properly. Like, he is such a cute kid, man. These kids are so lovely, subhanAllah. And at the end of the school day, because they're in a special unit in the school because they can't be in normal classrooms, they've got issues going on at home and stuff like that, so they're very disruptive, naughty, swear, while out, act up. The teachers are like, this boy who you're talking to, like, we've been trying to get him to communicate properly, basically, to talk and to look at people when he's speaking to them, and he was doing that with you, like, easily. I feel like one of my boys used to say, I'll keep referencing so many people's panel, but I don't have to take the credit for myself, so I'd rather reference the person who said it. One of my companions, Abdul Haki, once said to me that what's from the heart goes to the heart. So that's one of my greatest, that's what I feel makes me a good advisor, counselor, whatever you want to call it. Because when I speak to people, everything's from the heart. It's not like I feel like I've got to tick certain boxes, or I'm here to get paid or nothing like that. No, I'm interested in what your situation is, and I want to solve the puzzle, and I want to help you get it. I want to use my strength to help you find yours, basically.
It's a rare personality trait, that is.
Yeah, like, and that's why I feel as though it's been successful as it has been.
And it's hard to find someone who's sincere upon that, but I think it's easy to tell when somebody is not. So
yeah, like,
Allah Barak in it, man.
Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, alhamdulillah. No, it is going really, really well. I really enjoy it. A lot of the people everyone I've spoken to has like benefited from it and gave me really, really positive feedback and come back for further sessions as well.
Would you love to have that kind of caveat from your full-time job now, which is in the cranes, to be able to do that?
I would be open to it.
Each step at a time.
Yeah. I would be open to it because I feel like I'm naturally good at it. And anything you're naturally good at and that you're actually interested in, then obviously, of course, that's something that you could always see yourself doing more long term. So yeah, alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, may Allah put barakah in it. Jibril, Jazakallahu khair for jumping on the podcast today, my brother.
Jazak.
It's been amazing.
And I'll be seeing you for the barbecue on Saturday, inshallah. I'm going to be bringing the princesses with me.
Yeah, please do.
Alhamdulillah, I will.
And yeah, man, it's been amazing. Thank you guys for listening. I think this has been a very insightful episode. I was telling Jibril that there's some episodes where, we have, there's some episodes of Freshly Guarded where during the episode you just think this is a quality episode, and I'm so invested in the episode. And times where I had that feeling was like probably the biggest time I had that feeling was when I did it with Tim Humble in Dubai. Another one was the first You Should Evans one we did. That was powerful, and stuff like that. Must have been. You get this feeling where you just think, this is an episode that has greater. It's greater than just being another episode of Freshly Grounded, but it's something that reminds me why I do these things, and it's that we're gonna now, inshallah, get thousands of people listening to this episode, and I feel like the rate at which people will be inspired to make a positive change in their life with their iman, with their health or whatever, I think the rate of that will be high, and that's what I deem as a quality episode, an episode that allows me to think not just of success in the dunya, but almost allows me to put that to the side completely and think to myself, this is why we do Freshly Grounded. It's so that we can impact people. And Allah knows best, and Nate knows, his producer Arjo, and Sam knows that, bro, when it comes to Freshly Grounded, there's not much, if any, like, there's not much dunya reward in Freshly Grounded at all, really. Like, I say that obviously, like, there's it's not something, if you was to look at Freshly Grounded, it makes no logical sense for us to continue it and to carry it on and to do it, and there's hardship in it, and like you can see with, like, you know, Sam has to travel from where he travels from, and he's got all this stuff, and we always put time aside for it, and episodes like these are the episodes that remind us why we do it, because like I said, yes, it would be amazing to do something like Freshly Grounded full time, but to have an episode like this just makes us think, wow, there'll be someone out there, even if there's one person out there who thinks to himself, you know what, I'm not going to make jokes about the religion no more, or you know what, or there might be a sister or a brother that is thinking, I'm going to restore my faith in Allah, my hope in Allah. Or there might be a divorced brother or sister thinking, you know what, I don't know why I'm so down in the dumps and thinking that I'm not going to get married again. And I guarantee, bro, there will be people like that, inshallah, listen to this episode. And so I thank you for that, Jibril. Yeah, I hope this episode did have benefit for you brothers and sisters. Jazakallahu khairan for listening. We've got some very exciting episodes coming up, inshallah. I'm in talks with someone, and if you watch the vlog that I'm probably going to put out this week, today, tomorrow, you'll see who this person is. But we're in talks with someone that we've been in talks with since 2017. Since May 2017, we've been in talks with this person to come on Freshly Grounded. And it's just been tough because this is a very, very busy person, but it'll probably be our biggest episodes yet. So, inshallah, if we could get this person locked in, which I'm trying to get for this week coming up, then, yeah, we've got a very good episode coming up, inshallah. But it's not, so make dua, is what I'm saying, because there's been times where with this person, we have literally almost, like, on numerous occasions since 2017, we've almost set a date in, and it's just not happened. And so we've done that again this time, and inshallah we intend to do an episode this week coming up, and let's see in it. I'm not getting my hopes up completely, but inshallah I'll make lots of dua. With that being said, guys, thank you very much for listening. Nate, thank you as always for being a top producer.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Love you for the sake of Allah.
Love you too.
Love you too for the sake of Allah. Jibril, may the one for whose sake we love each other love us all back. Ameen.
Ameen.
This was Freshly Grounded. We're out.